I'm Beck and welcome to my August TBR. This is basically all of the books that I'm aiming to hopefully read during the month of August. I've had some ups and downs recently in terms of my reading. June was really good and July was starting to pull back and I was actively fighting off a reading slump. So I am hoping that during the month of August that doesn't fully take me over and I can get to a lot of things. So without further ado, let's get into them. Firstly, a very exciting release is happening. It technically already is out, but in the new covers it is not. And I recently read Wolfsong by TJ Klune, and this has become basically my favourite book of 2023, and the sequel Ravensong is coming out in this matching cover, so I'll put it on the screen. This is coming out in August, but I can't remember if it's the beginning, middle or end, so I don't know when I'm going to get to this. I will look it up after this video. I am so psyched to read about some more queer werewolves. And this one is following a witch, and he is looking at his past relationship, so I think it's like a second chance romance in a small town with these two men. I'm looking forward to it. I loved Wolfsong so much. I'm basically eager to see more set in this world and this town of Green Creek. I don't think I'm going to love the sequel as much as I adored the first book because this was just the best, but honestly, if this is the first book and that's the standard, I think I'm going to decently enjoy the second. Then I've also got a new release, which is the third book in the series by Rebecca Roanhorse. I actually can't remember the title of the third book, but I've read Black Sun and Fevered Star, and I loved Black Sun and I found Fevered Star middle of the road. So I'm really hoping that everything set up in Fevered Star is going to make the third book really good. I'm probably going to get it on audiobook either through my library or through Audible. I haven't really decided yet because I honestly can't be bothered buying the third book when I don't think I'm going to actively motivate myself to physically read it. Basically, Black Sun has a character in it named Ziala, and she's one of the several perspective characters, but she's the captain of a pirate ship, and she's shown in the first book to be in this cell because she was arrested for being drunk and disorderly. And this guy, who is a nobleman that she's never met before, bails her out and says, I need you to transport some cargo for me to the main city. So she's like, okay, accepts the crew that he puts her with, and then obviously takes this cargo to a main city. But the cargo in question is a person named Serapio, and he is the son born into a cult. And so this story is about Ziala and Serapio beginning to understand each other while they're on this journey to a major city where the sun priests are going to enact this ceremony on the eclipse that basically connects them to all of their gods. So there's a lot of political endeavors behind this journey, but I liked the quest element of it with Ziala and Serapio, and I think some of that quest element is going to come back a little bit in the third book because it seems like these characters are in this world now, far apart, and something is going to happen that's big because it's the third book. So I'm like, please be good, please be good. Then we've got one of my favorite authors, and I am revisiting this series again and I'm loving every second. I gave the first book 5 stars and I am going to be reading Royal Assassin during the month of August. I've already started it at the end of July, but these books, and especially this one because it's a bit longer than the first book, these books take me a while to read, not because they are bad by any means, but because they don't rush themselves. And if I try and read this book and rush through it, it does the book a disservice. It's essentially a cozy fantasy, but a complicated cozy fantasy. And I call it cozy fantasy because whenever I read this, I feel like I am entrenched in the walls of Buckkeep and I'm experiencing all of these things alongside Fitz because this world takes its time being set up through especially the lens of Fitz. So you get to see him getting food and going to the kitchens at nighttime where it's a nice warm place next to the hearth. But then you also get to see him learning different attributes that a prince should learn because he's a bastard son, but nobody is acknowledging him because he's got that reputation. So it really pulls on all of these threads of mental health, of magic, of learning and politics, and it balances them exceptionally, which is why I love this series. I feel so much when it comes to this series, and it also has a brilliant magic system called the Skill and the Wit, and they are mental magics, and one is connected to animals, one's connected to people, and they are very complex as well. And I'm so happy that I get to rediscover one of my favorite characters in this series because he is introduced in this book. I will say no more. Now I feel a bit bad because I got super distracted reading Robin Hobb and then I forgot that I was reading this book, and it's probably going to be temporarily DNF'd, and I don't know if I'm going to pick it up during August, but I'll put it on here anyway just I guess for solidarity, I don't know. Anyway, it's The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. This is the sequel to Her Majesty's Royal Coven. And I was saying in a recent reading vlog that this is just underselling to me. And I think it's because of something that happened in the previous book that is majorly influencing this that I personally don't like. So I'm hoping that that thing from book 1 into book 2 that is heavily influencing certain aspects of this plot, I'm hoping that it doesn't take the whole book to be acknowledged and resolved. But so far, I'm almost 100 pages in. It's really digging its roots into this story, and I'm feeling like it's going to be the major aspect, and I don't want to deal with it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. So I'm like, oh, does that mean I'm going to DNF this for good, or just temporarily DNF it and then pick it up later? I said in my vlog that I wanted to give this a chance, and I really do, but I just don't feel it right now. So maybe at the end of August, when I've had a bit of a break from reading it and I'm reading all my other TBR books, maybe I'll feel like picking it up again, but cross your fingers for me. And it honestly feels like I'm forgetting some new releases in this video, because I thought a lot more came out during August, but all I can honestly think of are the Rebecca Roanhorse book and Raven Song. Surely there are more that I'm missing. What I am aware of though is that the Magical Readathon is happening, which is hosted by G from Book Roast, and I haven't put together any kind of TBR yet because she hasn't released any of the details, so I honestly have no idea what I might be reading for that readathon, but I kind of keep it separate usually to my TBR videos so that it can be separate content, but I honestly don't know what I plan to read. I think I have 3 books that would definitely fit the theme of the Magical Readathon, and I really want to get to them, so I might just mention them really quickly. And those 3 books involve witchiness or fae and magic in certain aspects. The first one is Half a Soul, which I've seen everywhere in terms of describing it as a cozy fantasy series. I believe it's about a character who is cursed early on in her life by a demon, and now she's got to go about her courtly duties as a woman and eventually get married, but everyone finds her really blunt, and I believe it's her being the grumpy and him who is introduced as being the sunshine. That's the dynamic I've heard about, and I've heard this is really sweet. So I'm looking forward to actually reading the whole thing. I gave the library book on ebook a go, and I liked the writing style at the beginning, so that makes me hope that I end up really loving this one. I don't know how it's going to fit into the Magical Readathon, and I'm not sure how the other 2 books I've got here are also going to fit, but if I can make them fit, then I will. Then I've got A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating, which is again a romance book with magic in it, kind of similar to the other book that I've got with me as well. And this is essentially about Marielle, who knows not to trust a demon, but doesn't know what to do when she's accidentally bound to one. So I think it's going to be rivals or enemies to lovers, judging from that synopsis, which I'm looking forward to a lot. And I think this is also cozy fantasy because it says that Marielle is prophesied to be the most powerful witch seen in centuries, but she prefers baking bread to brewing potions. So already it's talking about cozy things like pastries and bread and baking in the context of witches and demons, which is just so up my alley. I'm so excited. I also realized I've accidentally gone for a green theme here, except for Robin Hood, but that kind of still fits anyway. But now I'm going to throw that whole green theme out the window with Payback's a Witch. And this one is blurbed by Emily Henry, and she says a sexy, funny, charming romp that scratches that witchy autumnal itch just right. And for me in Australia, it's winter, so I feel like I'm picking this up at roughly the right time. It's still cold outside. And it says on the back that 2 witches plot revenge but end up falling in love in this magical romantic comedy. So it's a sapphic romantic comedy, which I am all for. I was about to leave this video, but then I realized that I forgot to check Libby, which is my library app, and I have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune on that list, which is an audiobook that I'm keen to try, given that I DNF'd House on the Cerulean Sea, but I've found Wolfsong to be my favorite book of 2023. I'm like, what other books might be hidden gems by this author? So I'm going to try Under the Whispering Door. I don't know if I'm going to love it, but at least I can give it a go, and I can't give you a synopsis because I have no idea. I just saw it and then added it. And then another audiobook that I put on hold at the library is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, which I know I've got the physical book of in 2 editions, but I thought if I can try it on audiobook and enjoy it, that means I can listen to it when I'm catching the train to and from work. And so when I'm at home, I can read my other TBR books. So I'm kind of trying to be strategic here, but Legends and Lattes again is another cozy fantasy book, and you can tell it's the colder months in Australia because obviously I want to read stuff that's warm and comforting, which is exactly what this is. This follows Viv, an orc. She's trying to set up this coffee shop. Nobody knows what coffee is, and it follows her kind of pulling together a found family and building this coffee shop from the ground up. She doesn't want to be an orc anymore in terms of fighting for bounty and loot and causing violence. She really wants to settle and bring everyone together and have this like cozy, warm place that promises safety. So it's a really big 180 compared to what she used to do. And it's also kind of mildly sapphic. There is a romance in here, but it's not the main part of the plot, but it's still enjoyable. And I'm keen to try this on audiobook. It's a super short audiobook, so I'm really hoping I get to it because that will just add to my numbers during the month of August. So there you have it. Those are all of the books that I'm hoping to get to this month. Again, I'm hoping to stave off my reading slump. I think it's kind of working. Robin Hobb is really helping keep it at bay. But thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you've read any of these down below in the comments. I would love to chat to you. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.